There's a beautiful comment to the Meshech Chochmah in this week's Parsha. Parshas Tazria and then Parshas-Metzora as well tell us the details of somebody who has tzaras. Somebody sees some sort of affliction, some sort of spot on their body, and they show it to the Kohen, and the Kohen has to assess, and there are various details figuring out the hair that's there, and does it change color, and is it white, and how many, and where exactly it is. Many, many details. But the Kohen plays a critical role. And the Torah says, "V'ra'ah HaKohen es hanega bor habasar." The Kohen has to look at the nega, at the spot on the flesh of the person. V'seyar b'nega hafach lavan. If the hair that was inside that area turned white, umarei hanega amok me'or b'saro, and there was an appearance of a certain amount of depth in that spot, nega tzarasu, then that is nega tzaras. And that's where the pasuk should end. But that's not where the pasuk ends. The pasuk continues, V'ra'o HaKohen v'timeoso. The Kohen will see it, and he will declare it impure. Wasn't that how the pasuk started? V'ra'ah HaKohen. The Kohen will look at the nega. Of course, what's the Kohen looking at the nega to determine? If it is tameh. So why, after saying that this is nega tzaras, this is what causes the tumah, does the Torah have to repeat itself and say again, V'ra'ah HaKohen, the Kohen is going to see it? V'timeoso, it already told us that the Kohen is going to see it, and obviously, if this qualifies as being a nega, as being tzaras, then the person is tameh. Says the Meshech Chochmah, kfelus mevur. I can explain to you the repetition. He says the Medrash is one comment, but he suggests as follows: Sha'kavana she'yirez hanega mi re'uya l'tamena. Number one, the first job of the Kohen is the details of these psukim. The Kohen has to be an expert. The Kohen has to know exactly what. But it still is the Kohen who has to make that determination. So the Kohen has to look, and he has to examine, and he has to figure out, does this apply? Does the halacha apply? How does it apply? Maybe he has to ask somebody for assistance, but ultimately it's going to the Kohen. And he needs to figure out, is this nega, the way that it appears, appropriate to declare tameh? Hu sheyesh ba siman tumah se'er lavam. Does it have that white hair in it? V'ra'o HaKohen. But when it says V'ra'o HaKohen at the end, what it means is sheyireh HaKohen al ha'ish imro'i l'tam oso. He has to look at the situation. He has to look at the person. Is this person appropriate to declare him tameh or not? And that's a shocking statement. If it's tameh, it's tameh. If it's not tameh, it's not tameh. But what he understands is based on what the Chazal teach us. Im chasan nosin lo kol zayin me mishteh. If the person was a chasan, then we don't declare him tameh, because this is a spiritual affliction with physical manifestations, and therefore until the Kohen actually declares it as tameh, it's not tameh, even though objectively the nega might be there. So if it comes to a chasan, the Gemara says wait till after Sheva Brachos. Don't make the Sheva Brachos so difficult. Don't ruin them. Even when it comes to the regel, the Torah wants people to be able to enjoy, and therefore we don't want it to become too difficult. Look at the situation. So is it appropriate right now to declare him tameh? And that is what the Torah is teaching us. And I think that the lesson there is extraordinarily fundamental, because sometimes we look at a situation and we judge it objectively. We say, okay, this is the way it is, it's black and white. But what the Torah is reminding us here, and really so much of what we learn about tzaras, is teaching us lessons not just in what not to say, but how to say it, how we relate to people in a positive way. And what the Torah is telling us here is to make sure you have to look at the situation also. And sometimes the same exact thing in two different scenarios, in two different situations, has to be done differently. That's V'ra'ah HaKohen, V'ra'ahu HaKohen. We have to look at the facts, we have to look at the situation. But after you've looked at the facts, make sure to look at the whole picture. Is this the appropriate response here? And sometimes we need to adjust, and sometimes we need a little bit of flexibility. Sometimes not. But we need to figure out what is that balance. That is what the Torah is reminding us here. And as we prepare for Matan Torah, go through the days of Sfira, figuring out what needs to be said, how it should be said, to whom, when, are critical lessons that are hopefully that which we emerge from learning these parshas, from preparing days of Sfira, and that in the days ahead, the words that come out of our mouths should be words that inspire, that uplift, that bring people chezek and bring people closer together.